100% off the strength, man.
Off the strength.
I did it all on the strength, all on the strength. Fuck talking, I'ma do this off the strength.
Run it back, can't relax, that's just facts off the strength.
It's off the strength. Can't get that off the strength.
The biggest thing I've learned is if you want to be successful in anything, whether it's a brick and mortar gym or in the online space, you have to give your time and it has to be authentic. It's only appropriate for me to give myself as much as I would to my gym community as I do to the folks who are on my ladder app.
What's going on, fam? This is KR Jones of the Off the Strength podcast, and I am here to tell you to like, listen, subscribe, and if you're feeling freaky, visit offthestrength.com. That's where you can go and get more information on us. That's where we can link, we can build, we can connect, and let's make this thing work.
What's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome back to yet another episode of Off the Strength, where we're giving you an inside look into all things wellness culture. I'm a trainer called Tony, and of course, with me, I have a gentleman of extraordinary league.
KR Jones is in the building.
That's right, folks. We are back. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all type from near and far, you are now in store for a treat because, Brother Jones.
What's the word?
I have with us today the chance to talk about evolution in its truest form, man.
Okay.
Today, we are going to be chopping it up with none other than André Crews, a fitness powerhouse, family man, and ladder app senior trainer behind Cruise Control.
Okay.
See, I had the pleasure of crossing paths with this brother very early on in the Equinox days, man.
Okay, I remember them days.
I think I really have to stop for a second and really just break this out. There's a little bit of a tangent, Andre. Just hang tight, man. See, folks, we worked in a very particular gym inside of Chelsea, a very festive area inside the city, man. Right? And one of the earliest memories I have of Andre is him starting a shift sometime around Halloween, and he came dressed up as the guy from the Old Spice commercials. I mean, topless, and like he was in full regalia, you know what I'm saying? And it was a smash hit in that community. Okay. Pandemonium was started, and it was from that moment on that I knew this man understood that he was in the business of personality. Since then, Kyle, I had a chance to see this brother not only become a amazing husband, dad on a mission who is here to not only help motivate, challenge, and inspire people to become the best versions of themselves, but he does it in a way that is truly unlike anybody else that I've ever seen, man. He's shown the ability to continue to raise the bar in the wellness industry during some of the most uncharted times in our profession. From leaving the corporate grind in the finance world to building a thriving CrossFit gym and now shaping bodies and minds across the digital fitness space, Andre's journey is all about discipline, determination, and doing the damn work. So whether you're lifting heavy, you're building your own personal brand, or you're just trying to show up as your best self, Andre's story is packed with gems that you surely don't want to miss. So let's go ahead and welcome my brother, André Crews. What's up, Greg? How you feeling, man?
Thank you guys so much. That's probably the best intro I've ever gotten.
Come on, man.
Fired up. I feel like I should go deadlift 600 pounds right now.
We see the squat rack behind you. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
it's on brand,
yeah.
man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is my garage gym. So this is where all of the magic happens. So gone from, working out in the public space, training with you at Equinox back in the day when everybody looked at me like I was a leper doing CrossFit at Equinox. Then training at a CrossFit gym, opened up my own gym, and now I'm here getting after it while my son maybe takes a nap upstairs. I'm hoping for my wife's sake.
Man, so first I just want to unpack a little bit of that, man. I can't tell you how immensely proud I am of seeing you, Dre, with Sinead next to you, with Jameson cheering you on, the dogs running around in the background, all like the family picture. I don't think Norman Rockwell could have came out with a better image of what that needed to look like. Except for the fact that, like, on your front lawn, you got to be causing havoc in that homeowners association over there. They're like, yo, who is this giant man walking with, like, what essentially would be a light car up and down the block?
Home values have gone up since I moved in.
I love seeing it, man.
Funny story about that. So I became a decent, comrade with the guy who's the community manager here. His name is Brian. Very nice guy. And he said only one person made I'm not even going to call it a complaint, but someone just called and was like, hey, so there's a guy lifting weights in his driveway, and I think he's got something like, it's got to be at least 100, 150 pounds. and the guy Brian's like, it was a lot more than that.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Dre. You messed up somebody's jogging routine. I can't do my power walk down your block if I see a guy literally lifting a rickshaw and like moving around. It's like you giving validity to the whole "my dad can kick your dad's ass" thing in a different type of way, bro. You know, so
My son will never lie about that.
right, and then you can't go down the block the same way. You got to change the route. He's like, I need to find a way.
It's been very nice, man. Because they're from people walking by with their dogs to people who are actually going on their way to the community. There is a community gym here, it just has dumbbells and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like people are like, you inspire me to go and work out. I'm gonna go work a little bit harder today. So that's what it's all about, man. I'm doing it not only digitally but in real life. If someone looks out their window and is like, you know what, I'm gonna go and walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes or go take a walk with my dog for 10 minutes. That is what, in the greater scheme of things, is what it's all about. If me doing my stuff gives someone a little bit of inspiration to be a little bit better, I'm all for it.
I told you made me want to do a couple extra reps today just because I knew I was talking to you. I didn't even see you work out. I was like, all right, I got to do it.
I got to get a pump on before I get on this podcast.
It's like gains. More gains. I need to get this. Need to get this going the right way, you know? And man, I could only imagine the spectators on the other side of the cameras and walking around like, all right, we got to change it up. It's like, well, my grocery shopping list is not going to be the same after I see him out here. Summer is coming,
I'm not doing enough.
He's like, we need to step it up. He's like this all year round. We need to change it up, man.
That's been the biggest thing. Like working out when it's been cold outside, that's been the biggest. I made a lot of friends in the community when I first moved in over the summer because everyone's out, everyone's walking, everyone's going to the pool. But like, you don't see a whole lot of people that are out, you know, squatting, 400 pounds when it's 30 degrees outside or lower. So I'm inspiring people in a way that I didn't think was. I never really planned on doing that, but honestly, my garage is a little bit dark, and I just feel like there's something about being outside, especially when it's cold. I don't stay outside the entire time I'm working out. Like I'll do my warm-ups in here, but if I'm going for like a heavy single or like a big set of 10, I'll go outside, slap myself. It's kind of like having your squad with you. Like that, it's the cold air, gives you a little bit of a kick in the face, and then you can go and attack it. But contrary to popular belief, I do not spend my entire workout outside with my shirt off. I just go out, do my business, come back in, stay warm inside the garage, and I run back and forth to film content.
I'm not mad at that, man. I definitely want to get into the content side of it because, again, you put out amazing content that is not only like representative of who I know you to be, but also, again, like it gives people the opportunity to know, like, hey, some of the stuff that you're telling yourself, we're making up a lot of lies and excuses on the way to getting you to the type of man that you want to be. And like, the whole redefining dad bod is a whole thing that I want to definitely tap in with. But we spoke about you in that idiom before, from the time I saw you win Men's Health Fitness Trainer all the way through to like some of the challenges that you've been putting out with the redefining dad bod. But specifically, we most recently covered some of the commercials that you were doing, which I thought were like some of the most brilliant takes on the Mac versus PC ads back in the day, the whole ladder versus Peloton ads, and seeing you not just get to break into some of the old acting chops, but you just to like, it looks like there's nothing but fun happening on those sets when y'all are recording.
Yeah, there was a lot of laughter.
Take me through what's going on in that process and talk to me just about how you got into that whole space.
So we can backtrack it if we want to talk specifically about Ladder versus Peloton. So our creative director for Ladder is a guy named Philip Etzel. He is a genius, creative genius, like really, really smart guy. So we found out as a company in the summer that Peloton employees had been using our app.
Yeah.
And they're not very smart about it. They all had their
same names.
Peloton at Peloton emails. And like there's literally 16 of them. And they're in the app every day, multiple times a day. They're not, some of them work out, most of them don't. Most of them are just kind of like clicking things, pressing buttons, seeing what does what. And so we literally logged every single thing that they did from the time that they got in. So then Etzel's over here, our CEO is over here, and they're talking. And then Peloton makes a teaser that they're coming up with a strength app.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, we got to do something about this. So Etzel puts his head down and he figures it out. And Etzel, he's in our age range. He's in his upper 30s. So he knows that era all too well. And he didn't want to ever come at them as if we're like really trying to attack Peloton. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to help people get fit. We're not trying to punch down on anybody. But they literally are in our app and they're trying to copy our platform. So he came up with, hey, why don't we take this and do an old homage to the Mac versus PC thing? He had me fly down and a couple of the other Ladder senior coaches, and we filmed this from the time that it was a concept to the time that we filmed it. It was like maybe a turnaround of like 10 to 14 days. Flow down to Austin, Texas. We shoot everything in this studio. It was incredible. They had a big casting call to get the Peloton coach actors, and they did a tremendous job of picking people. The guy that they had, the guy that is in the commercial with me, Paul, he deserves like a daytime social media Emmy, because the characters that he brought to that entire thing were fantastic. But it was just us on set riffing back and forth. There was a script that we did follow, but we had a little bit of time to ad lib and play with each other. And so that happened in October. So we're kind of waiting for Peloton to release whenever they're going to come out with their rep. So we figured it would normally maybe happen in the beginning of November. That's when they have their quarterly earnings call, and they usually announce new products going into the holiday season around that time. So we're kind of sitting as a team, all hands on deck. I'm here in New Jersey, Kelly's in Texas. We've got Shelby, who was in California, and we've got my guy Corey, who's in Tennessee, and we're all just sitting there like waiting to like post our stuff, waiting for Peloton, and they don't announce it. So we're just kind of like, that's so kind of a letdown. So we just wait, and we're sitting on it. We're all in Texas for the annual Ladder Coach Summit, and we're literally at the same studio filming content for all of our New Year get right
resolution,
plan as a process, all that stuff. And the next thing you know, Peloton drops it. Very serendipitous moment. We're all in the same place. So we go from filming our content. We're like, everybody stop production. We run into like the dressing room. Everybody gets their phones, and we start just launching all these things. Bam, 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 bam. And it was just a smashing success. And the rest of it kind of speaks for itself. But just how warmly that entire campaign was received, not only from our members, but from Peloton members as well. And then even people who aren't even about that fitness life. Like when I showed it to my mother-in-law, who's a woman who's approaching 70 from Canada, she was laughing hysterically. So the fact that everybody from all over the spectrum was able to resonate with that campaign, it was such a cool process to be a part of.
Man, cool to see you be a part of, and cool to see the levity that y'all bring into that whole process. It looks like the jokes are never at a short, and it kind of ties in some of what I've heard you talk about in your early story. It's like you go from being on sets at a different point in time to now you're being like higher up on that call list, and now you're in the commercial. Take me through that part. Like it's not the acting world, but it's like, okay, you are acting, you're doing like you're running lines and going into that direction. Yeah. Like, does that ever cross your mind? It's like, yo, this is a parallel universe where I'm now in a different spot.
Where I'm famous, but not to try to be famous, right? Yeah.
Famous,
so
man.
I think back to when I was in middle school. I went to H.H. Poole Middle School in Stafford, Virginia. And there comes a crossroads when you go from 6th grade to 7th grade where, all right, you're either going to take band or you're going to take drama. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to have band practice and carry on an instrument or do anything like that. So I chose drama, right? So from the time that I was, 12 years old, I was getting comfortable with speaking in front of people, improving, doing silly stuff, learning the concept of yes and all of these little things that, people practice for years and years and years and years to get on shows like SNL. They do the Groundlings, they do all of that good stuff. And so I feel like my training started at a young age without me even knowing that that's what I wanted to end up doing. But I think this is for the kids out there who are listening to this podcast, guys, like just put as much skills into your toolkit as you can, because you never know when you're going to actually need to utilize them. Fast forward to being an adult, I get my degree in finance. I'm kind of put my acting dreams aside. Didn't think that was going to be anything. Being a banker was more of an acting job than really anything that I've ever done, because that was not me. I did not ever really feel like I was myself showing up to work on any given day, wearing my suit, being the youngest guy by 15 or 20 years. And it's not even like these guys were old. So these guys were my age now. I'll be 39 this year. There were guys and girls in my group who were in their upper 30s, low 40s that looked like they were in their 50s and 60s. And I'm like, man, like this can't be it. This can't be it. I can't just describe my entire life's work in one sentence. My name is so-and-so. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I got my degree in finance, and I've been at the bank for 22 years. I have 3.5 kids and a lot of money. And I'm like, bro, like this can't be life. So I quit, get out of there. And then that's when I figured, hey, like maybe I'll get back into acting. I was bartending at the time, and I was working in Pittsburgh, and movies started being filmed there because I got a tax credit. So I worked on a Tom Cruise movie, that movie Jack Reacher, which is ridiculous because he's like 5'0". I was the stand-in for the main black dude in that movie, David Oyelowo, African dude, and him and I are physically not alike. aside from like our melanin, like that's it.
It's better than you standing in for Tom Cruise, because I thought that's where he was going to go, and I was like, all right, man, I got to go back and watch this. I see what's happening.
No. So I'm standing in for David. He's like the main detective in the movie. And so him and I have the same skin complexion. And I guess they didn't have enough brothers in Pittsburgh to find someone who was his exact height. So literally whenever I would go in for the shot, they would have to get me wardrobe that was like 5 sizes up from him. He's a little skinny British dude, maybe like 140 pounds soaking wet. And so I would be standing there with my legs kind of like this. And then whenever I would have to get in his spot, I would have to spread my legs like that. So I would end up being arbitrarily shorter. And then Tom Cruise walks in with his intense face, and then I exit, and then my guy comes in, and then action.
Movie magic, man.
movie magic. So I did that for a while. I worked on a Will Smith movie. Do you remember that terrible movie After Earth?
He's had a few, but I do remember After Earth.
the one that was the son. So I didn't see that movie, thank God. But after being on it, I didn't. So I was one of the background military guys, and I met Will Smith. We were in there like getting our hair cut up and getting lined up for the day, which I haven't done in a while. And we're sitting there, and he comes in and says, "It's a good day to die, son." And I'm like, "Yes, sir." Because in that scene that day, we were all gonna our plane was gonna crash onto the planet and all that. So, but he's hysterical. Like he will be all jokes literally until they say action, and then he'll like do and just get in character and go. So he's cool. Man. Tom Cruise walks around like he's pissed off all day, just like running very fast.
Some part of that tracks through as well. It's just kind of like, he got to get with Elron and the rest of those guys, make sure they get you all set on the Scientology side.
And so what's crazy is while I'm on this random movie journey, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'll become a famous person. It's got to be around this long enough. So when it's hot, and then it all stops, right? So when it rains, it pours. Calls were coming, and then all of a sudden, I remember the summer after that, just nothing. Phone wasn't ringing, so I go back to bartending, picking up random jobs, working, weddings or backyard barbecues and stuff, bartending for folks. And then my now mother-in-law, who is, my Sinead's just mom at the time, says, hey, you've gotten into pretty good shape since you left the bank. Why don't you look into personal training? I didn't think that I would like it, but I got my certification. Like I remember I literally had like $8.40 something cents in my bank account. I was filling up my Honda Civic, trying to take it back home. I was staying at my friend's house, and I used a credit card to buy my personal training study guide and certification workshop. And so I signed up for the thing. That was a month later. I studied every day for a couple of hours, went and took it. As soon as I finished, I emailed the instructor like, hey man, can you expedite my test so that I can go and get a job? Because I don't have any money. He got me the results right away. I went into the LA Fitness in Secaucus, New Jersey, like the next morning and applied. And then that's when I started working in fitness. And so here I am now. Fitness, also partial entertainer, partial movie maker. So it all comes full circle, kids.
Man.
Just put as many tools into your tool as you can, and then you'll become superhero when you need to.
I definitely want to go back through a few of those different points that you bring up in there, Dre, because there's so much richness in that. You added another set of tools very early on that we kind of skipped over in a little bit of that, and it's just your digital marketing has been part of your business from the very beginning. And I don't think people really understand that. Like, so yes, to see you have the acting chops come full circle, the digital marketing has also come full circle. I went back and I started paying attention to when you started your IG, which was around those Equinox days. Yeah. And then seeing the outlines for what you used to have for like the health is wealth competitions and the newsletters that would go around, to see that digital fitness is literally those same seeds are planted into some of what makes the product that you are part of today so great. Like, how does that feel? Seeing, again, the actions that you started off very early in your story are now coming to full fruition, and they're like obviously have evolved with you as you've continued to grow.
Man, it's really cool to see. I remember when I first started my Instagram account. So one of my clients at Equinox, her name's Megan, lovely girl from the UK, and she was over here studying, getting her master's in marketing. And she says, I'm going to do a terrible British accent now. Andre, there's a new thing called Instagram. You have to make an account and start posting your workouts every day and use a bunch of hashtags. And I'm like, all right. So,
cool story.
All right,
we got it. I'll try.
When a British person tells you something, you're like, okay, sure. That sounds lovely. I'll do it. So I start doing it. I remember my friends were making fun of me, hashtag bro, hashtag, like literally just like chopping me up for doing all that stuff. And so I just started doing it every day. When I would commute from New Jersey into the city, I would have to get on the bus at 4:30 in the morning. So I had a lot of downtime to sit there. So I would make my videos on iMovie on my way into the city, and then I would post them somewhere between 4:30 in the morning and 5:30 when I had my first client at Equinox. And that's how I first started building the flywheel. So I just started the habit of doing it every single day. And I think I was one of the first guys who was doing workout videos. Like now everyone and their mama, that's all everyone does. And I always had an eye for what was visually good. I wasn't just saying, hey, here's my set of 10 squats. I tried to make it timed with whatever song would happen to be in the background. And back then you had to worry about your music playing and getting copyright taken down. Like exactly. Now it's like, here, take music. Like, bro, you'd have to find a way to I promise I don't own this music. Please don't flag me, Instagram.
All of that stuff in the copy.
It's not mine. Do credit to this person. I'm just trying to make a workout video. And so that's what really started everything. And what I think was really beautiful about Instagram in the very beginning. So at first you could only do pictures. As soon as they introduced the video aspect, that was cool. But back when you had the restriction of only being able to tell a story in 15 seconds, that's a skill.
Yeah.
That is a skill. Can you grab somebody's attention, take them on a journey, and make them feel something and want to do something at the end of 15 seconds or less? And honestly, just doing that every day for however long I've been doing it, since 2013, that's just reps on reps on reps. So yeah, it's really amazing now to see that all cold and full circle, because now part of my job is quite literally to make content, and I'm not just doing one a day. Sometimes I'm doing 4 to 6 different posts on any given physical day, covering all different content sizes. Some of them are 8 to 12 seconds. Some of them are longer format when I'm coaching people how to do a hang power clean. Some of them are, a long video of, hey, I used to only be able to deadlift 135 pounds. Now I'm deadlifting 550 pounds as a 38-year-old dad. Just trying to do the art of storytelling while also inspiring people to work out. And then along the way, if some people want to join my program and get fit with me, it's cool. But I fully accredit my starting days of just getting in the reps of knowing how to make videos. I have gotten some really good help along the way. Ladder has hired a TikTok professional. Her name is Aparna. She's a very talented writer, Ivy League educated, has a couple of books out right now that are bestsellers. And she literally taught me how to make videos that are good for TikTok. Wow. And then if you make a video that can catch someone's attention span on TikTok, then you can win anywhere. And so definitely a combination of all of the work that I put in, but I've had a lot of really good help along the way.
Again, had to champion that because I saw it in the beginning and it was like, it always looked like, he's very dedicated to this thing, but we don't really understand why. And that's some of the older, antiquated trainer brain in there, because that just wasn't something that people were doing at that time. So to see it, again, from seed all the way through to fruit, I had to salute that. I was like, this is mastery in the making across not just one category, folks. We really had to take some time to put some punctuation on that, man. So I just wanted to salute you for that.
Thank you, brother. And honestly, it comes down to my business background. And once again, I'm always thinking, okay, I don't want to be a 60-year-old trainer chasing down people to, hey, you want to train with me at 5:30 in the morning? Because I always knew as a business person, I wanted to potentially open up my own gym so that I didn't always have to be the guy who was physically there. And I also learned along the way, if I'm in New York and I'm popular at Equinox and I have my client base, that's awesome. But what happens if my wife and my family and we want to move to literally anywhere else? You have to start over. So I thought I have to build a digital footprint so that wherever I go, there's some sort of a brand recognition around who's André Crews.
Yeah, man. Love to see it.
Man, that's amazing. I'm just sitting here, and I was familiar with your story, obviously, because back in the day, Tony and I crossed paths in college, but we both worked at Equinox. So I was in Brooklyn Heights back in the day, too. I did my stint, my 4 years.
I did my time. I did my bid.
Yeah,
that's how everybody feels coming from there. Great place to be from.
Holiday parties under my belt, but I'm thinking about, everything that you laid out is making sense as far as your tools and everything that kind of just came together in the end into this superhero that you have formed into. But I'm curious about where you actually fell in love with wellness. Where was that point where you were like, you know what, I need to work out? Obviously I can hear a little bit in the bank story, but is there something at childhood before drama, or what got you into wanting to be fit and turning that idea into a lifestyle?
So I was always a skinny kid. My older brother was the cool, popular kid. So if you think about Fresh Prince, he was Will Smith, I was Carl.
That's
So like
okay.
had square head and all. and so I was always just like the little skinny smart kid. And so that was kind of my identity growing up, kind of being in his shadow. When I got to high school, and honestly, because of I think drama class, I became more of a orator, was able to say it with my chest a little bit more. I don't know. I think I really fell in love with fitness when I became a trainer myself, but I always wanted to look like a character from Dragon Ball Z or the X-Men comic books when I was a kid. Like being like the little brother. I was like, oh man, I wish I had muscles and abs like Wolverine and could go around and like beat my brother up. Right. So that's, I think, the very basic genesis of what everything is. Right? I wish I could turn my hair yellow and fly and
Super Saiyan
shoot
style.
fireballs.
He's ready.
Right. I still can't do that yet. I'm still working on becoming a Super Saiyan. But I think that's where the genesis of wanting to become fit was. When I got to college, when I got to high school, I started lifting. I just enjoyed like being strong. Like every guy, I wanted to just have a strong chest and do bicep curls. So that's all I did for high school. But I fell in love with, I think, the discipline of fitness in terms of empowering others when I made that transition from bartending to random movie stuff to finding personal training. I didn't know that I would like it until I actually had my interview with with LA Fitness. So at LA Fitness, one of the senior trainers, his name was Mazi. I have this client, I think her name was Darlene. He's like, I want you to just train her. They did 30-minute sessions. I'm gonna watch you, and then I'm gonna say if you get the job or not. So Darlene had been training with Mazi for however long. She had knee issues. She had type 2 diabetes, and pretty much all he would have her do is go from machine to machine to machine to machine to machine on any given day. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see if we can get you squatting here. So I took a big Swiss ball, I put it up against the wall. I said, put your back up against this, and I just want you to like sit your hips down and back, sit down and try to stand up. And then before you know it, she's doing squats for the first time in years, potentially. And I have her doing some other stuff, physically just using her body and external load, even if it was just, a 10-pound medicine ball or a couple of, 10-pound plates, but having her physically lift her own body, move her own body, and do stuff instead of sitting on a machine. So at the end of the workout, she starts like tearing up. I'm like, oh, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I haven't been able to physically use my body like this in years. And like, this is the best workout session that I've had. And that for me was like, all right, this is what I think I'm supposed to do. When I was a bartender, I thought that was what I was supposed to do. I thought I might want to open up my own bar restaurant. I enjoyed the social aspect of making people's lives more enjoyable when they would come to the bar. What I didn't like was they were coming to the bar Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, having cheeseburgers, French fries, mozzarella sticks. So I wasn't necessarily making a positive impact on their lives. And so as a personal trainer, I'm like, I can actually work with someone, have that connection where I'm actually interpersonal, not just sitting behind a desk, but I'm actually making a positive impact on people's lives. And I think that was my aha moment of I want to make fitness my jam. And that's when I came up with my professional mission to motivate, challenge, and inspire people to become the best versions of themselves.
I love that, man. It's powerful, and it is something that you could see in all the communities that you build. That is a hallmark of those institutions, really. So I want to still stay in that time frame, but I'm thinking about your just ability to build community then versus now. Like you're transitioning from building communities in person to building communities on the digital landscape, right? What's something that you would say is different about those two tasks, and what's something that maybe helped you, kind of like those tools did earlier, from your time in person to like what you have to do digitally?
So in person, it's really just about you physically being there.
Mm-hmm.
When it's personal training, obviously you're there physically. When you're at Equinox, you're hanging out with your friends and your fellow trainers in between sets. You're working out together. You're building that community. When I was at CrossFit Union Square, kind of the same kind of thing. It's being in the community, coaching there, taking classes that I wasn't physically working myself, but being around when there wasn't fitness happening. Because some of the best fun happens in gyms when no one's working out, when you're just sitting around talking shit. Like those are the magic hours. And so that's always been the recipe. When I built my gym, 150 Bay CrossFit in Jersey City, I started by having weekend day parties. People would come and there would be like a 9 a.m. workout, then a 10 a.m. workout. Then I would go down to Departed Souls, which is a brewery that's in the same building. I would buy a keg from them, and then we would play flip cup, beer pong, and just hang out and drink for the afternoon. And so in the beginning, it's very much like trading your time and physically building the community by being there and just trying to bridge the gap between what people know that they should do but don't necessarily want to do and the stuff that they want to do. So people know that they should be working out. They don't necessarily want to do a workout that's going to be very hard. But if you're like, hey, if you come work out, I'll hang out and have a beer with you afterwards, I'm in. It's a day. It's something that we can do on a Saturday. So I did a whole lot of that for the first number of years that my gym was open, pretty much up until my son was born. And I didn't have the bandwidth anymore to physically be at the gym all the time, having parties every other weekend, because when you have a kid, you don't have time for that. You have to focus on the family. And so how I transition to the online space is if I know that people are wanting to train with me online, it's only appropriate for me to give myself as much as I would to my gym community as I do to the folks who are on my ladder app. So it really just involves me physically being in the app multiple times a day. I'm probably in there upwards of 20 times a day, getting in there, checking on members. You have the physical ability within the app to double tap and cheer people on while they're in the middle of a workout. So I always make sure to rattle through and try to give everyone who's working out, 2 to 3 cheers depending on whatever part of the workout they might be. I can see like if they're at the beginning of the workout, the middle of the workout. If I know they're in the middle of like the bad part, then I will get like the hard part. I'll give them some extra cheers there. But I'm just saying there, try to be as authentic as possible. I'll send a video first thing in the morning when I get up, whether I'm, with my son or walking my dogs. I send them my workout videos, stuff before I even put it on Instagram or social media, just like raw footage of me. Hey, like this is me doing these 8 front squats at 230 directly into 30 seconds of jumping lunges and almost puking because it's terrible. But like just being completely real with them and saying, I'm not just writing these workouts for you and saying, go. I'm actually in it with you guys. I'm just potentially lifting a little bit heavier because everything we do is percentage-based progressive overload. So, my 60% is a little bit heavier than your 60%, but we're all doing the same thing to get to that goal of stronger, fitter, better, healthier for our family. So really the biggest thing I've learned is if you want to be successful in anything, whether it's a brick and mortar gym or in the online space, you have to give your time and it has to be authentic. You can't just get in there and be like, and throw out these blanket statements. Hey guys, let's everyone go work out today. See you later. Hey guys, today's workout's going to probably suck and you might curse my name when you're in the middle of doing it. But when we're done, we're going to feel really fucking accomplished. And we did things that are making us harder to kill and stronger for our family. So let's go. And so I just try to carry the same presence that I would have in real life. I try to bring it to the online space. It is very hard to do. I often find myself at the end of the night, my eyes literally hurt some days from looking at my phone so much. But I have some of the best retention numbers across the company of all the ladder coaches, and it's because I'm in there and I'm authentic with it every single day. So whatever you want to do in life, if you really want people to invest in you, you have to give yourself. Yeah. In every single way that you can. If you really want people to show up for you, you got to show up for them.
It's so inspiring, man. I really do hear you selling the product, but being the product to like the T of what that's supposed to mean. This is the template of what that needs to look like and feel like. I hear a lot of the consumer sentiment for what people are looking for today. You see the popularity behind third spaces coming back up. People looking for gym fellowship and other. It's been parts of the things that you've been doing at a very long time. I don't know if you were intentionally thinking through it like that, but I could see all of these kind of dovetailing into the same end result where it's kind of like, okay, cruise control is about a whole lot more than just the dumbbells and the barbell cleans, man. This is a whole thought out process. And I like the fact that you brought up some of what that's extending to, with Jameson upstairs sleeping somewhere. I heard you mention on the show before that you wish you started squatting earlier, right? Yeah. And how you used to see your dad doing yard work and everything else. And now I just see the transition that you've become as a father and seeing Jameson in the background. Some days he's coaching you on. Some days he looks like he's got his own program going on at the same time.
Paw Patrol program.
Yeah, he's just on a whole different option, Yeah. But it makes me so happy to see that some of the things that you talked about wanting to be different are things that you are actually showing him on a day-to-day basis. Like, what does that mean to you to have your son look at you and be like, oh no, my dad is actually doing this?
It's really powerful. It's really powerful. Like, my dad, literally, when most people say they don't have time to work out, my dad actually did not have time to work out. So quick backstory about my dad. So he, in the mornings, would sometimes literally deliver papers. Like, literally, there would be days when we would go, like usually on Saturday or Sunday, and we would get in the van with him. We would bag the papers up and we would just run them to people's houses, people's apartments, going all over, Alexandria, doing all that stuff. He would go to the Department of Education. He still works there today until Doge gets rid of everyone. But he's still there today, been making the commute from Virginia to DC that entire time. He would come home. He would go to Men's Warehouse, sell suits at night. And then on the weekends, sometimes he would also cut people's grass. So my father was the hardest working individual in the world. And I had never faulted him for not working out. He coached my soccer team part-time he was an assistant coach for my soccer team at one point when I was younger. So he was always physically present, but he just literally didn't work out. He would come home, he would eat, and then he would pass out because he was tired because he had to get up and do that whole rigmarole every single day. So I learned the values of hard work from him. And now that I know the benefits of health and fitness and all of that, like, I want to show my son. I don't want my son to be a trainer because this is a terrible life.
Hold on to that. I got to follow that up, but go ahead.
Yeah. Anyone who's a real trainer knows that, like, this life is hard. I do not wish this life upon my son. I have gotten very fortunate to be where I am today. But like, it's pretty much been like 12 years of struggle to get to, like, I'm kind of at the mountaintop right now. Everything is groovy right now, but it's been a lot of not making good money and working crazy hours to get to where I am right now. I wish him an easier journey, but I still want him to learn the value of hard work. So for me, I think the very first time that I started a squat program was after me, you, John Allstat, and Harris all sat down and were like, Andre, you got to start doing this and this and this and this if you want to become a CrossFit Games level athlete. And that was, I think, the first time I started a squat program as a 27-year-old man. I was never taught how to properly squat. I did strength and conditioning class when I was in high school, but that was just the coach saying, all right, guys, go into the weight room. I'll see you in 45 minutes. There was no structure
at all.
So we would do bicep curls and bench press every day. Bro, I came out of high school. I wasn't even 18 yet when I graduated, and I could bench press 300 pounds. I was a 17-year-old boy able to bench press, but I didn't even know how to properly squat. So I didn't start squatting properly until I was in my upper 20s. I wish I had learned how to squat when I was little. I would be squatting like 600 pounds right now, but I'm trying to catch up.
Man.
So it's really cool just to teach my son, and I don't want him to be a trainer, but I do want to teach him that, like, hey, sometimes he knows the concept of what is heavy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, all right, James, pick up that gallon of milk and take it over. He's like, ugh, heavy. He can pick it up. His PR is picking up 2 milk cartons at the same time.
Like
2
that,
gallons
he's got
of milk.
PR.
He's got little baby PRs. He's got his baby PRs. His like maximum hang time's like 30 seconds. He's got I got his numbers tracked in an Excel sheet. But no, like, I just want him to be the best version of himself, whatever that might be, whether he wants to be a fencer, a golfer, if he wants to be a scientist, if he wants to be an astronaut, I don't care. I want him just to have all the tools in his toolkit to do whatever he wants to do. And being a fit, strong human being is something that everybody should be, because it's going to increase your time on this earth. If you have more lean muscle mass, if you have a healthier heart, you're going to live longer and be able to do more with your life. So I just want him to be able to be Superman.
Having a hell of a role model to look at and template, they might not tell you outwardly, but he's not missing any of those lessons. They say more is caught than taught often in that kind of space. But
yes, sir.
Hysterical to see, again, just how it plays out when he's not on your workout kind of time. He's just like, hey, Dad, let's check this out. I know you want to be strong, but I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get some water. Matter of fact, cool off, Dad. Dump the water out on you.
Yeah. That was funny. I think that was Christmas time. We were in a hotel gym for like a week. We were staying in a hotel down in Virginia, and I was in the middle doing like bench press or something, and he comes over and literally just puts a cup of water on my chest
while you're pressing.
When I'm in the middle of doing this, and I'm like, all right, I guess I got to do some tempo reps now and make sure it doesn't fall on me. But
Focus, Dad. Engage your core.
Focus. No, he doesn't care. And there was one time we were here in the garage, and I was doing like a 10 rep max RDL at like 475 pounds. And he's just like, Daddy, play Paw Patrol. Daddy, play Paw Patrol. And I'm like, nigga.
It is not the time.
I got like 8 more reps. Shut up.
Yeah, man.
Like, one second, Bubba.
Out of the mouths of babes, man. They always gonna teach you. They always gonna teach you what they're really picking up on over there, man. You talked about the high school training. I can't tell you how many people from my high school walking around with injuries today as 40-year-old men from some of the ridiculousness that we've had inside of what they were calling the strength and conditioning programs then, man. I literally
tell me how you tear a pec at age 17.
Oh, I can tell you right now. It was like, hey, you see that bar? We're going to put 135 pounds on that bar. Go ahead and do a power clean right now. And it was like, I don't know what that means. It's like, oh, you take the bar and you just do this. Like, you do like this. It's like, I've never touched weight before, coach.
Pick it up.
Do it again. Be more aggressive about it. I'm telling you.
Stop being a bitch.
There's people walking around today with back injuries that I was like, you know what that's from, right? When we were on the offensive line, day one, and they were just kind of like, just throw that up over your head real quick and just see how that goes.
I think that was the old philosophy of like the Drago, if he dies, he dies. Like if
that was the mindset back then. And I feel like the only thing that breaks you out of that is the educational component, like over time. And, you know, if you're fortunate enough to go to school for it or even just learn it on the fly. As you're laying out the story, man, I'm really thinking about the philosophy that you've had, like, and even saying something like, you know, not wanting your son to be a trainer because of how crazy of a lifestyle is. Like, I get that. I understand that completely. I'm more curious about the decision to stay with fitness despite the money fluctuating. Like everyone knows, like the wellness industry, it's just fleeting, especially if you're working with high level people with a lot of money. They travel. It's not consistent. And it really does take some fortitude to stay focused and want to still provide this skill when there are people that take it for granted. They don't give you their all. Like, how do you, one, I would say, you know, stay focused and being that inspiration for people. And two, also like be able to give your all to this, even when you know you're not going to get the same back money wise, energy wise.
Well, let me take it back. I'm going to ask you to ask me those questions again, but I got to tell you a backstory on this. So I want to talk about the money side of it, because that's really a big factor that a lot of people don't necessarily know about when you first come in. So when I transitioned from being a banker to being a bartender, I went from making a lot of money to having no money, right? And I had a little bit of money saved in my account from my banking time. So I got my mixology certification, and then I had to sit down with one of my friends who was a full-time professional bartender, and she literally just told me everything she knew about how to survive as a shift worker. Because when you're a shift worker, as a bartender, you don't necessarily have Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever. Like sometimes you work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, sometimes you work Saturday, whatever. So your income's going to potentially be a little bit different every single week, especially if you don't know what the size of the crowd is at the bar that you're going to be working. So she taught me a very valuable lesson about, all right, you know that you need to do this many shifts to make at least this much money. You need to budget out how much is your rent, how much is this, how much is that, how much do you need to survive on your basic, like, I need to keep a roof over my head, I need to put gas into my car. How do you budget all that and then work backwards from there? And then don't spend any money until you know that you've made enough money to cover all that. And so just having that mindset of being a bartender who didn't know if I was going to make $100 on a Monday night or $50 on a Monday night, and trying to budget backwards from that really prepared me very well for the fitness industry. I was so unhappy as a banker. I didn't care how much money that I had that I was not making. Like I spent money on dumb shit. Like I probably spent more on alcohol than I did on my rent on any given month when I was a banker. I wish. Real talk.
Yeah, we got
real talk.
That's some power drinking, man.
I know. I wish I had saved a lot more money. But I didn't, right? But so I learned how to actually live within my means. And so when I got into the fitness industry and I found this profession that I actually found noble and lifted me up inside and made me something that I wanted to really do and pursue for my whole life, it was kind of just a flip of a switch to figure out how much money do I need. So when I was at LA Fitness, I made $9 per half-hour session. And if I didn't train people, I made $0. So I hustled to get my book up so that I was training people from 5 in the morning until noon, go home, take a nap, come back, train people from 5 until 9 at night, rinse and repeat every single day. So by the time I get to Equinox, thankfully I was grandfathered into like tier 2 because I'd been a trainer for a year and had a certification. So, it's either as a tier 2, you either make $28 an hour or $40 an hour if you're doing full time.
The bonus,
right? So you go from making minimum wage, wearing your blue shirt, walking around and giving people eucalyptus towels. Sir, want another?
Would you like a stretch?
want to shine a shoe for you, boss? And and so you go through all that, and bro, I'm telling you, I hustled. My first month at Equinox, I did, I think, something like 60 Equifit things.
I told you started off the show coming in shirtless.
I know.
It was a stampede that started.
Here's what you get. Here's what you're getting, fellas. Want to look like this? Want to look at this? Come on over. Come on over. I'll give you a free hour-long training session. Try me out. All right.
Oh, man.
Andre from New Jersey got really weird.
He's the most busy he's ever been. It's crazy.
Making money. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So I ramp up really quickly. But anyway, so for me, it was always a very binary decision of, okay, I know if this is how much my rent costs and this is how much I need to get this much money. So I'm going to do what I have to do to get this much money. So at Equinox, I got to a point where I had condensed my schedule. I was kind of living the dream, right? If you want it to be that way, I'd get to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. I'd literally train 7 to 10 to 8 people back to back to back to back. So I'd be done by noon. I'd go over to CrossFit Union Square, work out, go home. That was my day, right? But then you're like, oh man, at Equinox, as soon as you don't hit that 21 sessions, then your pay gets cut in half. I took no vacation time. One time, my wife and I went out to Portland, Oregon to visit our friend, and we literally flew back red eye on a Friday night so that I could come to the gym and do like 5 sessions on a Saturday so I could keep my bonus for that. So I was always very tight about my money and knew what I had to do to make the level of money that I needed. And when I left from being at Equinox, I went over to CrossFit Union Square. They gave me a better split on my personal training, so I had a better kind of work-life balance there. And when I went to open up my gym in 2017, I came up with $3,000 a month as my salary, as what I knew I needed to cover my portion of the rent. I got rid of my car because I was just biking to work or walking to work or taking the bus to work, saving money on that side of things. So I tried to keep my life expenses as low as possible and then just put everything into the gym. Anytime that the gym would make money, we'd reinvest in the gym. The entire time the gym was open, I never paid myself more than $3,000 a month. The entire time, despite opening the gym 6 days a week, writing all the programming, doing all the social media, doing all the member inquiries and cancellations, like literally being the operations and more of the gym, dealing with all the emotional aspects that go along with people that want to work out with you and cancel the memberships and all that different stuff. So being sued by a member who fell off of a bench that she shouldn't have been standing on, all of that, having to fire a coach for sexual harassment who was a friend of mine, like all of these crazy things that you have to deal with as a gym owner. Honestly, I think, and if you did a per hour assessment of how many hours I put into the gym versus how much I paid myself, I probably made more as a trainer at LA Fitness on like an hourly basis.
Yeah, because they don't put a cap on those hours that you have to show up for when you're the business owner. Yeah. Those are not the chapters in the NASM textbook that are ever covered. It's like what to do when harassment happens. It's not in the NASM book. It's just,
what do you do when a member sends an email threatening to do XYZ and you like lose sleep over it? Like all of these things, like all of the mental space that has to be taken up, mental and emotional space whenever you are the owner and operator of a place. There's so much that goes into it. I don't recommend anyone become a gym owner unless you have very wealthy people backing you up and you don't have to worry about money.
Man, that's a big thing that people don't realize. I think the natural maturation process of a trainer is to get to that, okay, we're going to be personal trainers for a little bit. You diversify the portfolio. You get into some type of group training. That's where I would say the equivalent would be like CrossFit kind of style classes and things like that. And then it's kind of like, well, I might as well open up my own space, right? Because it seems like it's a logical progression. The steps that are in between there, I've had enclosed my own space, and it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Nobody ever talked about half of this that goes on even if you are bringing on partners, you learn a whole hell of a lot of different things. That's kind of like,
You're gonna learn today.
yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, why do we need marble countertops? I don't think that that's something that we should be spending money on. It's like we could probably
just
step
buy
it down.
like 10 more rowing
Yeah,
machines.
exactly. We can get so many more people in here. You know, price per square foot is really what we need to be thinking
But
about.
it looks really nice, bro. It looks really nice.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. And, you know, $15,000 later, you know, trying to figure out like where is the money in this business going, you know? So
Oh my God.
I know that story a little too well, man.
We can do another sit down where we literally just talk about like gym owner problems. That can be like a 10-part series.
Dude, that's a masterclass that needs to be taught,
Yeah.
sold, given out to as many people that think that it's going to be,
Please.
hey, listen.
We can walk around like Jehovah's Witness. Have you found Jesus?
Do you know the truth?
Have you found
know?
gym owner? Don't do it. Don't do
Exactly.
it. Don't do it. Rebuke the devil.
Man, see, I knew what you were talking about when you were saying all the reasons why you didn't want your son to go in there, but I'm glad you punctuated that, man. It's just like, it's the highs, the lows, the uncertainty, and everything that comes in between there. But again, having a little bit of that foresight into what your background from like biz dev and ops kind of came into it, it sounds like you were already thinking about where you needed to go. And even the decision to like shut your space down was made from a perspective of like, no, listen, this is what this actually costs. This is where this is coming from. Here's why this is happening. But I want to get back to that for a second. You brought up the Union Square CrossFit and your time over there. Now, I do remember you training and running over there. You're training with like Thor's daughter and like all the rest of these people. And it's like
beasts, straight beasts.
It is at a time that I want to set the time frame as like when I said in the beginning, you went through some of the most pivotal peaks and valleys inside of fitness. Like it wasn't just a linear like, okay, we're going to go from sweating in the, you know, the Jane Fonda kind of let's get physical kind of days to like, oh, now we're doing equinoxes. It's like, no, the boutique era happened in this time frame in Union Square and in the sector of the city that we're in. The number of gyms per capita was insane.
Insane.
Like you couldn't walk more than maybe 10, 15 feet without running into some type of gym.
You walk down the street like, is that a bar? No, that's a gym.
No, it's also a gym.
Both.
Yeah, it's two of those things. Oddly, like I think they might be serving something different in this one.
They got tequila right now, but then you go and do some power cleans afterwards.
Right? Exactly. The gym that you worked out in was not just a regular CrossFit gym. I need you to explain that to people a little bit and tell me about some of the workouts that you actually were a part of in there.
That gym was an elite athlete training ground. So I found CrossFit Union Square. Do you remember when that company-wide email came out from the head of training from Equinox?
I've gotten several of those. Some of those were maybe direct to me.
This was, if you recall, I don't know if he's the same guy, but the guy that was the head of personal training when we were there, he was a black dude. I can't remember what his name is.
Offhand, no, I don't remember.
Can't remember what his name is. But I like looked up to him because like coming from the corporate side to being, I'm like, all right, so like this is, hey, maybe I'm going to be like an Equinox kind of guy, and I'll climb the corporate ladder in Equinox and be that kind of a person. But then I remember the email comes out. It's like, I think it's November 2013, 2014. And it says company-wide ban on Olympic
CrossFit.
lifting.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I'm like, and this is when I just really started getting into CrossFit. I just was starting my cleans and snatches and all that stuff. And I understand as a gym owner, if you're in New York City, you can't drop weights because it vibrates through the whole building. It's not safe. All that's like, fine. If that's the reason why you want us to not do Olympic lifting, fine. But this nigga came out and he says, well, it's actually a more challenging movement if you eccentrically lower the snatch lift from overhead and control it back down and bring it to foot. And that is not true, sir. That is not true, sir.
That is no longer a snatch either.
Those movements are designed to be dropped from overhead at maximum weight because your rotators don't allow that kind of, the way your bank account is set up, your body is not supposed to do that.
That's not going to work. You're going to have a bad time.
So when that email came out, that made me like just lose respect for Equinox, like all in. I was like, oh, I thought you guys were smart. Oh, okay. This is just about money. All right. And like, so that was literally the switch that flipped. So then I'm into CrossFit at the time. I want to get good at it. I see that CrossFit Union Square had just opened up, and it's the head of the gym is Annie Thor's daughter, who at that time was like the fittest woman in the world. She had more abs than most bodybuilders, super strong Norwegian lady. And so she was like the face of the gym. So I go over there, I do a drop in one day. I'm literally like practicing clean and jerks in the corner, and Annie Thor's daughter's over there with her boyfriend, now husband, now, baby daddy, Frederick Frederick Agidius, they're working out together. So I'm like, I'm literally training right next to these games athletes. And so, Jay Adams worked out there, Kerry Pierce worked out there, like gangsters in the fitness world would train there on a regular basis. And that was just who I ended up working out with. We weren't always doing the same thing, but every so often I'd hop in and do what they were doing. There was a time where I jumped on the exact same training cycle they were doing from this guy named Yami. It's called the Training Plan. Yeah. And that taught me a lot about what you have to do to physically train to be an elite CrossFit Games athlete. And that made me realize really quickly, I don't want to be an elite CrossFit Games athlete. They spend so much time in the gym. Bro, like I like working out, but they like work out.
That's
like,
it.
It's like, this
is the day.
It's the day. Like, what are you guys doing today? I'm gonna work out. And then I'm gonna go take a nap. Then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna work out.
Do it
again. Truly. Like 3 a day kind of a situation. I'm gonna do 2 hours in the morning, go and have food, train a couple of people, go back, work out in the afternoon, take a nap, come back at night and do like some cardio or lifting. Like it was literally a full-time job outside of whatever else they did, training people. And I was like, I don't like fitness that much. Like but along the way, I got really damn fit because I was doing all of the stuff and following all of the progressive overload and challenging myself in new ways, doing the Metcons, doing the strength, doing Olympic lifting cycles while, getting my 10K row time up, like all kinds of crazy stuff that doesn't make sense on paper. Like, how can you get stronger, but then also get better on the assault bike, but then also be able to, like, it was crazy. It
made sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember some of those off hours in Equinox before the ban happened. It was like, the parkour sessions, the box jumps, just the craziness that just used to happen. He's like, yo, what are you doing today? Oh, you're doing that? I bet you I could do some of these. How many double unders you got? All right, I think I got a few more. So if it was a fraction of that, it's like, I can see how that transition. And then I also, like, it was a no-brainer when I saw you in Men's Health. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, he obviously is the fittest person that's inside the room. Do you see what his normal Tuesday looks like?
Bro, so that was another thing that was crazy. Like, and I will credit CrossFit at making me as fit as I am today. I think, like personal trainers, there's a lot of bad CrossFit trainers out there. There's a lot of bad, like, if you don't have a good structured program, you're going to get injured no matter what. But if you have a good structured program, there's focus on mobility, focus on actually moving well. Like, you can become a superhuman if you have the right methodology teaching you along the way. And if you have a little bit of genetic help, like most people aren't built like me. Like I know I have more type 2 muscle fibers than the average bear. Like that is what it is. But like my dad has a big fat beer belly because he doesn't work out. So you can use it or you cannot. But that was just such a crazy time of building myself up. So my fitness level was like kind of like this, like really, really freaking high. And then I go from training. I was kind of doing 2 days when I was at Union Square. So probably working out like 2 to 3 hours a day when I was there. And when I went from transitioning from doing that to opening my gym, there was a point where probably about a month or a month and a half where I didn't really work out. Like my entire fitness on any given day was building my gym physically. So dragging those 100-pound stall mats in from the loading dock, up the stairs, literally laying out 5,000 square feet. I gotta do some floor work today. Floor mats, building the rig, building assault bikes, building all the rowing machines, like setting all the kettlebells up, moving everything. So my job was just like being a manual labor person for a month. Also riding back and forth from where I lived to Jersey City Hall because our landlord never actually sent in to get our CO from the city. So I literally went back to zoning and office of the county clerks and all, like back and forth on a daily basis.
On the bike with amazing glasses, by the way. Definitely loved them.
Yeah. And so like I just got really good at like general physical fitness during that time, even though I wasn't like training. So I didn't really feel as strong as I normally did. But so I was invited to Men's Health Magazine's fittest trainer competition. My buddy Mike Dewar trained with me at Union Square with our other buddy Julio Gutierrez. We were like, we called ourselves the Fittest League. We did a podcast before podcasts were a thing with like at one giant microphone that we were all trying to talk onto. The sound quality was so fucking terrible. It was all bad. Those were the days though. It was a great time. And like we were making like silly videos on Instagram before anyone did. Like we just had a really, really good time. So anyway, I'm not really working out, but he tells me about this thing. And I'm like, okay, bro, but I just opened my gym like a month ago. I have to coach classes. Can I come like in the middle of the day? And he's like, yeah, it starts in the middle of the afternoon. It'll probably be a couple hours and you'll go back and coach. So it was a Friday. I opened the gym that morning, 5:30, came into the city, go check in and it's a meat market, bro. Like all of the most diesel coaches in New York City are there. Like all the guys, what was that fucking place called? Tone House?
Yeah, Tone House is definitely there.
Those big niggas. Like those guys are giant. Those guys, and that's the thing. Like I'm not that big. You know, I'm 200 pounds, 5'10", which isn't really that big in terms of like size of NFL line. Like these guys are like monsters,
and
like,
they were literally linemen at some point in time. Some of them were NFL
guys that are like, hey, sir, I'm in line.
Even I think Abe was his name, the editor at that time. Abe was not a small guy.
Big boy, just a big boy. And so I get there and I thought it was going to be like, all right, we're going to do some bench press and some other stuff. And then like, it'll be like a networking event. I'll be able to talk to someone from Men's Health about my gym and maybe I'll get like them to cover me a story about me. And so I get in there and I'm in one of the first heats. So you have to do 3 things back to back to back. You have to do max reps bench press at 185. You have to do a max broad jump and then as many calories as you can do on the rower in 1 minute, all in like a 6-minute time frame. So I'm in one of the first heats. So I go in with 10 other guys and bro, I tell you this, my general fitness strength was up, but like I hadn't benched, I think in literally 8 weeks at that point. So my chest was deflated. I got like 20 reps at 185, which when you're a normal person, you're like, that's pretty good. Okay. But like Tone House guy got like 50. He was just like, and he probably had room
steamrolling through him.
I finished mine. I'm like, all right, I think I'm done. And I'm like lining up for my broad jump, and he's like still going. I'm like, I didn't win that.
Is the weight still moving? It's like, damn.
Yeah. So I do my broad jump. I did pretty well on that. I did my row. I did pretty well on that. And so then we just had to wait because we were one of the first heats and there were literally 100 guys that were competing and every heat had maybe 8 to 10 guys in it. So we're all just like fucking around. Me, Mike Dewar, our other buddy, Nick, we just do like an Olympic lifting session. So like I built my snatch up to like 240. Then I end up fucking around and PR'd my power clean at 325 pounds.
I just want to give people insight. This is not a part of the competition. This is just stuff that he was doing while the competition was happening.
Really? Well, we got to wait to see if we made the semifinals, right? So like we got 4 hours to kill. Like let's do some stuff. Meanwhile, I was very fortunate. I called my coach at the gym and said, "Hey, can you coach tonight? I don't think I'm gonna be back in time." She's like, "Cool, I'll take care of it." So that was, a blessing that she was there to take care of that for me. And so end up PRing my power clean. I didn't think that I was going to make the semifinals because of the bench press numbers, because like they were just so low compared to what I knew the highest one was. But my broad jump and so parkour and my rowing, just because I was so used to doing rowing intervals from all my years of doing CrossFit, and I've been rowing, 10 minutes a day since I was not a freshman in college. I think it was when I was in college, because I read Jason Statham, rowed 10 minutes every day as a warm up. And I was like, he's a pretty fit dude. I want to be like him. And so I started doing that and I never really stopped. So just because of my general physical preparedness of being good at rowing and my athleticism of jumping from my years of doing parkour, I won those 2 events. And so that kind of got me into the semifinals. So the first event of the semifinals is the max height box jump.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I got this motherfucker. So another background story on that, when I was in Pittsburgh, when I was bartending, I made friends with a guy named Rodney Wallace, and he did parkour. So him and I would just go out in the streets of Pittsburgh and just like jump on shit. And Rodney is a big, like tall black dude. He looked kind of like the Predator, like not like asexual Predator, like the Predator from Come On Kill Me, like big dreadlocks, like just a big muscular, but like could jump.
Terrifying people as he lands softly everywhere he's going.
Come on, kill me! I'm right here. Do it! Come on! So he taught me how to jump. He taught me how to do like all these really amazing skills. Because of him, I got really, really, really good at controlling my body outside of just the lifting weights component. I also did Taekwondo in college when I was at Pitt, which helped me to get a little bit more coordinated and balanced. And so like I knew that I could jump. They did it conga line style. So everyone would go in, we'd jump on one height of a box, and then we'd add a little bit of height every single time. Now, they were one of the first people to have like those big, stackable boxes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think toward the end of it, there were 3 out of 5 of us left in the semifinals who were trying to attempt this highest height, which was like, high. I was, I think, second or third in line. The first guy missed, I missed, and then the third guy missed. And I'm like, all right, we all got one more shot. And this was it. And so And so this is like, you know what? This is my shot. Like I gotta get loud here. So I start slapping myself. I'm like firing the crowd up. You guys might have seen the video on the internet. I've posted it a few times. But like I just get everyone involved and I just summon the energy of the crowd. I slap the hell out of myself. I do this thing which I always do, load myself up, and I just fucking jump as high as I can, tuck my knees into my chest, and I stick the fucking landing. And as soon as I did that, the crowd like explodes. And I'm like, I can't lose. Like the competition is now mine. Like if I nail this, if I secured one event of the semifinals, it's mine. So the next event was max rep deadlifts at 225 pounds, unbroken. CrossFit background. Yeah. There was a workout in the CrossFit Open that started with 55 deadlifts. And it was a chipper. 55 deadlifts, 55 wall balls, 55 calories on the rower, 55 handstand push-ups, as much as you can do in 12 minutes, something like that. So I'd done that workout a few times during the CrossFit Open during my day, and I jokingly went into the huddle with all the guys who were in the semifinals. You know, Adrian, the guy who's like the Peloton dude now?
Yeah,
Adrian?
for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Handsome with the bald head. Yeah. And so I'm joking. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do like 55. And he was like, but I was also like, I'm going to fucking do 55. And so
he's like, no, that's happening.
Because I was the guy who won the first event of the semifinals, they gave me the advantage of having my bar facing all the other guys, and they were all facing me. So I had to do like one hand over, one hand under. We all made a gentleman's agreement that no one was going to wear a belt because I think one guy brought a belt with him, but we all agreed that no one's going to wear a belt because we all didn't have our own belts. So I just hooked in on the right, hooked in on the left, and I'm just going. It's like I lost track at some point. Like I just remember like my ass burning, and guys started up. Like one guy drops, I keep going. Another guy drops, I keep going. Another guy drops, it hurts. Another guy drops, and I think there's like one dude left, and I asked my buddy, I think like Mike Dewar, Nick are right there. I'm like, how many have I done? And they're like, just fucking keep going. And so I do 5 more, and then everyone else had been down, and I do 5 more, and then I drop my bar. And turns out I did 60.
There we go. I love it. He talking about
and so like I was broken for about a week after that. But that wasn't the final week. That wasn't the final event. The final event was 2 minutes max calories on the air bike. So another skill that I developed every day at the end of our training sessions at Union Square, we would do reverse Tabata on the assault bike. So 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 4 minutes, all out. So you learn a lot about how to train yourself on that device. I would also do 30 minutes as a steady recovery on any given like Sunday just to like move. So I know how to use the machine.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, well, I won that event and I won that event. I think I can chill on this one. So I didn't go that ham on it, but I ended up getting 3rd place on that event. And because of how the other events shook up, like even my ones from the beginning, like the bench press one, I ended up tying with the guy named Rain. So Rain is a super fit dude. He's from South Africa. He's a really awesome guy. He was a ladder trainer for a little bit of time, but super fit dude. And so it comes down to me and him in the finals. And at that point, we had to do, the tiebreak was 1 minute, as many bar facing burpees as you can do. Now, bro, burpees were my kryptonite. When I was doing CrossFit, I loved lifting heavy. I could always do the gymnastic stuff. I could do the handstand walks, some muscle ups. I could deadlift really well. I could clean decently well. I hated burpees. Like that was always my weakness. My buddy Julio Gutierrez, I used to train with, he was really fit, like a smaller guy, like 100, not small, but like 175 pounds. So he was just really better at burpees than me. He would always crush me in those. I hated burpees. But because I had spent the last, 8 weeks or whatever, just building my gym and not really lifting heavy, I lost like 8 pounds. So I didn't even, and because I was walking so much and building stuff in my gym. So I come into the competition and I'm like 8 pounds lighter than I normally am. So at that point, I'm like, I have to just fucking black out and go. So I just closed my eyes and did as many as I could. I think I got like 31 or 32, but like I smoked his ass. Like he kept up with me, I think for the first like 5 or so, but then I started like going beyond where he was going. He might have finished with 20 something in the low 20s, but like I smoked him in the last one. And I will definitely attribute that to me just having like being a little bit smaller, and also the fact that I had not been lifting as much and I'd been doing more just steady state cardio without knowing that I was doing it. So that was That was Men's Health Magazine's Fitness Trainer, man. That was a fun day.
Epic. Talk about epic. You lost me after 55 deadlifts. They'd be like a burpee. I'd be like, burp what? It's like, no,
My
sir.
back doesn't do that anymore.
My body doesn't go in that direction.
Bro, it was all adrenaline.
It was.
It was all adrenaline. My back, bro, like for the full week. And what was funny is I got home that night. I called my wife. I got a cab. Back then I didn't have any fucking money. You know how much it costs to take a cab from New York to New Jersey? But like I was like, I won this briefcase that had a Theragun in it. You guys remember the original Theragun?
Oh yeah, that thing was like a
is
jackhammer.
a fucking machine gun. It is so loud. It's like this big,
The OG
bigger than my
Theragun.
torso. So I had that. I also had my collapsible bike with me because I rode it into the city. And so I'm like, I can't take all this on like a subway with me. So I was like, I'm just gonna eat it and I'm gonna buy myself a cab and I take a cab home. I call my wife and she's like, "Are you okay? Like, where are you?" And it's like, I'm like, I won. And she's like, "You won what?"
I did all the reps. It's like, what?
I did it all. So I come home and bro, the next day I had to be back at my gym, opening up the gym for like the Saturday morning shift. And so at that point I lived in West New York, New Jersey. And the only way to get to Jersey City was for the light rail, the Hudson Bergen light rail. And for whatever reason that day, the light rail was just busted. So I had to bike my little collapsible bike, which is very rinky dinky. 7 miles to my gym to open it the day after winning Men's Health Magazine's Fitness Trainer. My back was so fucked up. I could not bend past my knee for a week.
I could
But
imagine.
the next day I get there and I'm like, "Hey guys, I won. So like you should train here." And no, I remember the credibility that I got from all of the gym patrons that day was like, this dude just won last night, and then he's here at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, teaching us how to do snatches and wall balls and all this stuff. And so that really like kind of solidified me as like, all right, I'm glad that I'm a member of this community, and just kind of like leading the charge there. But yeah, that was an experience.
Man, it makes the logo for your gym feel all that much different. It was kind of like you walking in and it's like, no, he's actually that guy.
That's it.
He did that. And all right, so you bring all of this up, man. I need to understand, you had the sentiment that you need to check on your strong friends. I hope that your recovery process since then has evolved to something that is matching where we are in age at this standpoint in time, man.
Well, so honestly, the biggest blessing that ever happened to me is that I got injured in 2016. Okay. So back in the day, I remember you and Harris and who is that fucking Jay from Equinox? That motherfucker. I didn't like his ass, but he honestly he told me some shit that I didn't want to hear that was true. And so, like, I will respectfully, in retrospect, I will say, Jay, you were right. I should have been doing more soft tissue work because, like, that's what fucked me up. So, when I was at Union Square, it was always, hey, I'm coming to the gym to PR every day. I got to PR something. If it's clean and jerk day, I'm going to PR my clean and jerk by, even if it's by 1 pound, I want to put something heavy over my head. And so I would just go to the gym and just rip it every single day. And I was never doing the finer things of warming up properly and doing the soft tissue work and the recovery work. I was doing all the fitness. I was doing the fitness recovery side, but I literally never stretched or did soft tissue work. Memorial Day 2016, I came back from being down in North Carolina with my wife and our friends, and we're drinking, having a good time. I tried to cram 2 days of Catalyst strength programming into one because I'm like, I can handle it. I'm used to the volume, and I'm doing a routine, power clean and jerk at like 252, and I like feel something weird in my back. I put the bar down, and then like lights out. Yeah, I could not stand upright for more than 30 seconds at a time without being in debilitating pain. And I'm like, oh, I messed myself up here. And it's never one thing, as we all know, any injury comes from micro tears, from repetitive, doing this wrong. I had bad thoracic mobility, so I was always overextending anytime that I was overhead. And so just a lot of different things that kind of came to fruition to make that particular injury happen to me. And so I checked myself. I took 6 months. I was doing physical therapy. I was doing acupuncture. My workouts changed from me trying to PR every single day to me literally stretching for 60 minutes and then doing assault bike and strict gymnastics and bench press because that's the only thing that didn't hurt me. And I was just repatterning my deadlift, my clean, my squat, my snatch with an empty barbell or a PVC pipe just to get my movement patterns down. After 6 months, I transitioned back into lifting. And funny enough, one of the first workouts of the CrossFit Open after I was healthy again was that 55 deadlift, 55 wall balls. So I was very hesitant coming in to that particular workout.
Oh yeah.
But I got through it and, was injury and have been injury free ever since. And at my gym, I came up with the philosophy: move well, lift heavy, breathe hard, in that order, right? Make sure your technique is tight before you add any sort of load or intensity. Get your heavy lifting on, but before you start to go hard and hand, make sure that you are having the foundations of all the major core lifts and being strong and all that good stuff. So my training philosophy is so much different now. I still am about that life of going hard and pushing when you can, but recovery is such a big thing. I tell all the members in my community, once you're north of age 30, you need to treat mobility and soft tissue work the same way that you treat brushing your teeth. A little bit every day is going to stop the cavities from coming in. Those minor aches and pains could turn into cavities or injuries that will take you out of the lifting game for a while. So a little bit of movement every single day is medicine. I walk my dogs 3 to 4 miles a day. I'm always stretching down on the floor with my kid. I always have my lacrosse ball with me. So that's the hardest thing to enforce as a gym owner, even as a trainer, and then even now as a person that has almost 4,500 members around the world in my program. I can give you all of the tools you need. I have a mobility session built into the program that they have access to 24/7. How often do they do it? Not that often, right? But I'm constantly saying, hey,
you need to do this.
Yeah. I made a post the other day because there's a new woman in my program who's very nice, has a very strong fitness background, did CrossFit for a number of years. And she's like, oh, well, my achy 40-year-old knees just don't allow me to do what I want to do. And I'm like, that's bullshit. That's literally bullshit. You're not dead. You're not dead. And then I made a post on Instagram, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
oh, mother, it's a miracle. I'm like, oh, well, my 40-year-old knees won't allow me to bend down and do these squats at full depth anymore without bending over and going onto my toes. Shut up. You are not dead. The average lifespan of people in America is 78.4. All right. If you're 40, you're going to live at least another 30 years, at least. If you're a healthy person, you can live even longer than that. But you're telling me that you're just not going to be able to bend down and play with your grandkids. You're telling me that you're just going to be in a retirement home because you can't physically sit down and stand up on your own. As soon as you lose the ability to sit down and stand up on your own, you're going into assisted living, gal. So yeah, mobility and recovery are everything. And for how I how I tell guys who are the young macho version of me, who was like, fuck you, I'm not going to do mobility, I don't need it. Mobility is the ability of your body to move more weight, right? And if I had better movement patterns, I could have been snatching probably 30 pounds heavier. When I came back from my injury, because my thoracic mobility, my hip mobility, my ankle mobility, everything was so much better, I started going from a very inconsistent 225 pounds to snatching 270 pounds within the course of 3 or 4 months, just because my movement patterns and my stability was way better than it really ever had been. So that's how I now can try to convince the younger people to get on board with their fitness. But honestly, guys are dumb, and it takes most of us blowing ourselves up before we're like, oh yeah, I should probably start stretching. Now that a doctor told me to do it is the only way to make me not have to have surgery on my spine.
That's legitimately the only thing that happens. It's if you don't have that brush with injury, it's just immortality in the mind. It's kind of I don't need this. Yeah. It's just
come on, kill me.
I'm warm. It's I'm ready to go. I did a couple of these.
I walked here. Yeah. I walked to the gym. Yo,
how
that
many
was the
people?
funny shit. There'd be clients.
I walked over here, yo. I'm already warmed up.
I had this one client that from Equinox, he came over and I'm like, he was 15 minutes late. I'm like, hey man, are you warmed up? He was like, yeah, I walked here. I'm like, all right, here we go. That doesn't count, sir.
Yeah, it was that walk had no urgency. That's why you're here 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after the hour, man. That's not supposed to work. Yeah, exactly, man.
Had to go to the Lower East Side real quick, get a bagel.
And you're standing outside trying to hail a cab, smoking a cigarette at the same time. It's oh yeah,
my thumb's really tired.
Dre, man, you laid out a hell of a story with the men's health competition. I'm thinking about you've accomplished a lot, man. Just hearing you walk through this whole thing. I'm curious about how would you define success, or what is your biggest success in your eyes from, gym, from fitness, from fatherhood, from business? Just paint that picture for me a little bit.
I think success for me has always been on a sliding scale, and the goalpost has always moved, but in a positive way.
Okay.
So in the beginning, success is when I'm a trainer, how do I get a full book? How do I have a busy schedule from the time that I get to the gym to the time that I leave? That's success. Okay. When I become a gym owner, okay, how do I get my classes to be full? My 5:30 class, my 6:30 class, the 7:30 class isn't quite filling up. Like how can I bridge that gap? So it's filling up all the classes. How do I keep my members coming in? How do I close on people who are coming to take my class for the first time? How do I get them to go from never trying CrossFit before to wanting to sign up for a year membership, 6-month membership, month membership? So that's how success is. Then in the online space, opening my gym was honestly the biggest accomplishment I ever thought that I would have in the fitness industry. Like, I thought that like once I had my gym, like this is going to be my job. This is what I'm going to do. We literally had options for our lease up through 2043.
Wow.
Like we had options. We had options that we could have stayed for that entire time. So I'm like, hey man, I'm living my dream. I'm my own boss. Eventually the gym will get to a point where we have 400 members and I'll actually make good money. And so that was always the kind of carrot that I was chasing at my gym. But what I always found at the gym was anytime that I would physically take a step back from myself being the one who did all of the stuff, the gym would start to fail in different ways, right? So it would be, okay, so I'm no longer coaching the 5:30 a.m. class. Attendance starts to go from 20 people to 5, to 1, to 0. To now we have to cancel this class because no one's signing up for it anymore. And so I would, as soon as that would happen, I would jump back in and then take back over and then it would pump itself back up. And I played that game for literally 7 years. It was, all right, everything's humming, everything's going well. We're making money. I'm going to take a step back, hire some people, pay them some good money. But as soon as André left the equation, even if I'm still physically writing all the workout programming, no one's me. And at the end of the day, you guys know that like when you put yourself into something, as I mentioned earlier, people want you. And when I wasn't physically at the gym as the daily operator, people weren't necessarily as excited to come there, even if I was the one who was still writing all the workout programming. Hi, here's my dog, Jersey. And so that scale moves over a little bit. And that's when I came up with I have to kind of get out of this. Oh, here's my son. Here's Jameson. Hey, Bubba.
Jameson.
Here's Jameson.
Hey.
What's going on?
Hi, Jameson. Hi, Bubba. So that wasn't necessarily an issue until Jameson came into the picture, because at a certain point, anytime that I was physically away or at the gym, having to open the gym at 5:30 in the morning, that took away from me being there, able to be with him in the morning, to help my wife get him ready, to get him off to daycare and all this stuff. And so the calculus changed significantly. So I was okay making $3,000 a month when I only had to pay for myself and could not really worry about having to be at the gym at all hours of the day. Oh, you want to go hanging? Okay, yeah. You can go on the rings. Go ahead, Bubba. And
I like it. He's getting his reps in.
And so that's when the calculus changed. Like, this is not enough money for me. You asked this question earlier. Like, this is not enough money for me to be physically here all the time when I want to be around for this kind of stuff, right? Go, Bubba. Yeah, buddy.
Come on. I like it.
Buddy.
That's some good reps.
Right. And so then success changed from how can I make it so that I'm able to make money, but also be with him and also affect people around the world. I'll move. Okay. Thankfully, I got my program. I launched my program on the Ladder app in 2020 during the pandemic, and it took a long time for us to build up. I think it took us about a year and a half just to get to 100 members. We launched in August 2020, and then it took us until I think January 2022 for us to hit 100 members. Then we started figuring out TikTok social media marketing, and then by the end of 2023, I was at 1,000 members. I finished 2024 with 3,000 members, and then now I'm at about 4,500 members around the world, right? So the success scale is sliding. So now for me, success is I'm making a great income. I'm literally living my dream of helping motivate, challenge, and inspire people from across the world, and I'm able to do it from home. So like success right now, like I'm literally living my best life right now. I have success. I'm able to be present with him in the morning. I'm still able to positively impact people, and I'm still able to have really good workouts and be a relatively strong dude. So I'm very blessed and very fortunate to be around right now as Jameson is smashing.
I like it, man. He's bringing the energy that, listen, he's in the right space to do it,
Yep.
man. I love it. And you can't get more successful than that, man. I love hearing all of that you shared with us today, Dre. You know, I see how you've recharged the batteries. I see he's ready to throw some hands over here. Can you talk to me about what's something you do to just recharge your batteries around your mindset and your purpose? Everything that you shared is predicated on a higher, like a greater good kind of reason. What do you do to recharge that and energize that?
Honestly, the fact that we've moved out to the suburbs now, my life is a lot more peaceful than it really has ever been, ever since being a trainer. The woods are literally right outside. So pretty much every day after getting him off to daycare, I put on my 20-pound weight vest, I grab my 2 golden retrievers, Holly and Jersey, and we go for like a 2 to 3 mile walk. Starting my day like that every day, whether it's 90 degrees outside or 0 degrees outside, getting the fresh air to just be physically not indoors, getting that vitamin D. And so that is how I kind of start my day, just to kind of clear my mind physically. That's kind of how I get myself in the mindset every single day. But to actually recharge every so often, it doesn't happen very often, but my wife and I, when we can physically take him and our dogs and let her parents just take them off.
Like, here you go.
And if we can just go and have a weekend together, and we don't get out very often. She's the director of school counseling for her district, so her job is very demanding as well. But when we can just take time to reconnect to each other, have some drinks, have some herbal remedies, and just, physically not have to wake up in the middle of the night or at whenever time in the morning he decides to wake up, and just be able to be together and think about what the foundation of us was. Like, our foundation was us drinking, dancing, having a good time in the south side of Pittsburgh back in 2020. And that's the foundation of my family. And like my happy place is whenever I can get back to that point with my wife and I, even if it's just for even if we just get a babysitter for a single night and are able to go into the city and have dinner and drinks, but just being able to reconnect with her. So I think that's my big thing. Like, have fresh air, keep your fitness regimen, but have your person that you can just remember what the foundation of everything is. Because as much as I love Jameson, he is very taxing. Plus, and being a dad is a very, very stressful. It's a beautiful
full-time job, man.
It's a full-time job. It's incredibly stressful, and it doesn't stop. And Jameson doesn't care how much you drank the night before.
Well, I was going to ask you.
It's 5 o'clock. Wake up! You know what? I can't wait until he's like 16, and I'm like, hey, nigga, it's time to get up. Let's go.
Now.
We're going to the gym.
I was going to ask you. You mentioned your favorite drink before, and I heard his name. I was like, hey, there might be a correlation that's happening over here.
So when we were originally coming up with names, so my wife is Irish, obviously. Her name is Sinead. So she has a lot of Jameses in her family. My father-in-law is named James. She has an uncle. She has a grandpa named James. And so we were originally thinking James Crews, but I didn't really like the way how that flowed correctly. James is kind of weird. And I'm like, well, what about Jameson? It's Irish, and I like drinking the drink. So it's
See, I knew there was a
all worlds. It's literally the best of all worlds. You don't want that? Well, no, you shouldn't have Jameson. You shouldn't.
No, not for quite some time, old man.
Yeah.
You gotta take these next
when you
few
turn
off.
18, we'll go to Ireland.
You make it work, man. Dre, I appreciate you sharing everything that you gave us today, from the evolution of you as a trainer to dad that we see you being active right now to, just how you've been able to layer all of your experience into what you're offering people now on the Cruise Control program on Ladder app. Could you give the good listeners out there how they can follow you, how they can find the app, and just give me a little bit of the pitch about why you need to make these dads a little bit more resilient out here, redefine that dad bod.
Listen, science backs up so much of what we are doing in the fitness space. We know that if you build more lean muscle, if you train yourself aerobically, you will have longevity and you will be able to be around for your children for longer, not just for your kids, but potentially for your grandkids and all of that. So for me, it's a no-brainer for guys. If you can't commit to working out at least 3 times a week, go down to your garage. All my workouts in my program are literally 45 minutes. You can do them with as little as 2 dumbbells and a positive attitude. Obviously, you have the ability to use barbells, rings, you can use all the apparatus if you have access to it, but I provide voiceovers, cueing, and coaching, and there are mechanisms within the app where you can modify and switch out movements based on whatever equipment you have physical access to. So I'm providing a way for everybody. There's no excuses. Press play. I'm going to guide you through it step by step with the reps, with the movements, and you're going to build in muscle, you're going to burn fat, and you're going to get stronger. Not just for show muscles, but for what I like to call, if you remember Sharif from Equinox, we don't just want show muscles, we want go muscles, right? So you're building functional strength so that, yes, you might have that big chest, but you can also carry your kid for 30 minutes through the park when they decide they don't want to walk anymore, right? And if you don't have kids, I don't think you realize the bicep pump that you will receive from carrying a 30-pound human for 10 to 30 minutes nonstop. It
doesn't want to be carried sometimes.
That's some core strength in itself. That's why I walk around with 600 pounds on my back. So you're gonna get a great workout, and there are progressions with everything. I've stayed consistent with my program, doing 3 workouts every single week for the last, I think, 60 months, 60 weeks, even when we're physically on vacation. I've done my workouts using him as my weight, using my dogs, using pieces of wood when we're in the Canadian wilderness. So everything is very adaptable in the programs, and it's so cheap on my shoulders. Okay, my program, you get a free week. Go to my page on Instagram or TikTok, André Crews on TikTok. I think André Crews Control. André Crews on Instagram, André Crews Control on TikTok, and you get a free week of my program to try it out, see if it fits with you. And then after that, it's literally $1 a day, $30 a month, no commitment. You can cancel anytime on the Apple Store. You spend more on that on coffee on any given week, right? Like, do something that's going to make a positive impact for your life so that you can stick around and be around for your kid. And don't make your kid a liar when they say that my dad is the strongest guy. My dad's stronger than your dad. He will never lie about that.
And he's got the hardware to prove it. He's got the trophies out there. You know, you got to make sure.
He's like,
you
yo,
know.
bro, my dad's stronger than your dad. I'll show you right now.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Yo, all right, Kyle, you got anything else you need for Dre?
Nah, man, I feel like your toughest client has told you.
He's letting you know the time is going. He
You
put the
late
gloves
for a
on.
session.
Better wrap that gavel up, B.
Yeah. I don't want to see what he does with these gloves, but he put them on pretty quick.
He got him on. He used to need my help getting them on. He slid them on real quick.
Like, you might be in trouble for your next session.
I'm just glad he's not punching me right now.
All right, brother. Again, I thank you so much for catching up with us. Thank you, Jameson, for coming in. Don't hit Dad too much, man. You got to give him a good break, okay?
Hey, it was great connecting. Yo, I want to come back because we have so many things to talk about. We have so many things to talk about.
Man,
we'll come back. We'll talk about gym life. We'll talk about anything.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait to get you on there, brother. Once again, it's been another fantastic episode of Off the Strength. I'm a trainer called Tony.
KR Jones.
Peace and much love to y'all out there. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Love y'all.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? I'm a trainer called Tony, and I am here from the infamous Off the Strength podcast, asking you today, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be, to please like, listen, and subscribe to our podcast. This is how we're going to continue to be able to deliver you the best goddamn wellness information out here. So if you want to keep hearing this and you want us to keep growing, you are a part of this show just as much as anything else. So please go to offthestrength.com. Make sure you check out our blogs. Make sure you check us out on IG. And if you're hearing this voice and you didn't hit that subscribe button, know that Kyle is going to come looking for you.
You got that right.